Sometime in the late 90s, if you were watching closely, the dogs at airports started changing. Not all at once. Just, you'd see a shepherd one year, then a smaller, fawn-colored dog the next, with a black mask and this wired intensity behind the eyes. Nobody held a press conference. There was no memo. The federal agencies and the military just quietly started phasing the shepherd out and bringing in this Belgian dog most Americans had never heard of. By the early 2000s, the swap was basically done at the tip of the spear. Delta and DevGru had already moved on. The regular military took longer. Some local PDs are still catching up, honestly. The reasons you'll hear thrown around for why it happened, shepherds got soft, Mals are just better, all that, those are mostly wrong. Or not wrong exactly, just lazy. The actual story is sadder and more interesting. The German shepherd we know got hollowed out by its own popularity. The Mal stayed obscure and weird and unloved by the show world long enough to stay useful for the people who actually needed a dog to do a job. Two stories, same 20 years. "40 to 80 pounds, almost always under 60 for a working line. Short fawn coat, black mask, ears pricked, this lean greyhoundy pode that looks like somebody took a shepherd and trimmed off everything that wasn't muscle. The breed comes out of Belgium, the Mechelen region, Malines in French, which is where the name comes from, and they were originally a herding dog. One of 4 Belgian shepherd varieties, technically, though the other 3 barely exist outside their home country. The Malinois got picked up by Belgian police and military in the early 1900s and just kept getting refined for that work, quietly, for decades. While the German shepherd was becoming the most popular dog in the world and getting redrawn by the show ring into something with a sloped back and bad hips, the Mal stayed in the hands of cops and military trainers in Holland and Belgium, who didn't care what the dog looked like, only what it could do. That's the whole story right there. That's basically why the breed is what it is. Nobody was breeding them to be pretty. Nobody cared whether they made good pets. They were bred for 100 years by people who needed a dog that could work all day and bite hard at the end of it. Bite force is where this gets misunderstood because everyone wants the PSI number, and the PSI number is sort of beside the point. A Malinois bites at around 195 PSI. A German shepherd, basically the same, give or take a few. Hyenas and bears are way higher, so PSI as a comparison is kind of useless here. The way they bite, though, that's where you see it. Mals tend to come in with what trainers call a full mouth bite, the whole jaw clamping down, not just the front teeth. And once they're committed, they don't let go. There's a clinginess to the grip that's almost embarrassing to watch. The dog will hang off a sleeve while you spin it in circles. On the brain side, they're rated near the top in trainability, 5th or 6th depending on which list you're looking at, which I take with a grain of salt because those lists are basically vibes. What's real is how fast they cook up any task. Trainers will tell you a Mal learns a complex sequence in maybe a third of the reps a shepherd needs. The catch, and there's always a catch, is that they learn the wrong things just as fast. The roached back, that's the thing nobody wants to talk about. Go look at a German shepherd at Westminster, then go look at a photo of one from 1955, and tell me they're the same animal. They're not. Somewhere between then and now, the show ring decided that an extreme rear angulation, that sloped, frog-legged, almost crouching stance, was beautiful, and every breeder chasing ribbons bred toward it, and the dog's hips paid for it. Hip dysplasia in German shepherds is now, the numbers depend on whose study you're reading, but it's bad. Bad enough that the militaries who used to default to shepherds started sending them home with washouts before they ever made it to a deployment. Elbow dysplasia too, degenerative myelopathy, which is basically a slow-motion paralysis that takes the back end out from under them by age 8 or 9. And here's what makes it worse. There's not one German shepherd anymore. There's the American show line, which is the most exaggerated, There's the German show line, slightly less wrecked, and there's the working line, which is closer to what the breed used to be. Most people who buy a GSD are getting a dog that was bred to look at, not to work. £65 versus 90. That's the gap, more or less. A working Malinois usually clocks in somewhere around 60, 65. Some run a bit lighter, some a bit heavier. And a male German Shepherd in working shape is going to be 80, 85, sometimes pushing 90 pounds of dog. Now, on paper, you'd think the bigger dog wins. Bigger jaws, more dog behind the bite. And in a straight wrestling match, sure. But the military doesn't really care about wrestling matches. The military cares about a dog that can rappel out of a helicopter strapped to a handler's chest, scale a 6-foot wall, sprint across a courtyard, and still have something left to engage a target. And every pound of dog you're carrying is a pound the handler has to carry too. Mauls jump higher. Mauls climb better, accelerate faster from a dead stop. They're built more like a coyote than a wolf. That lean, wiry frame, deep chest, no extra anywhere on them. Watch a Malinois clear a vertical wall, and it almost looks like it's running up the side. A shepherd can pull it off. Watch a Mal do it, and you start questioning whether the wall was actually there. Iraq, Afghanistan, the places where most of these working dogs got deployed in the last 20 years. Hot places. Dry, brutal, you don't want to be outside in July hot. And the German Shepherd is wearing, well, look at the dog. That double coat, thick undercoat for insulation, longer guard hairs on top, the whole setup designed to keep a herding dog warm in a German winter, which is great in Germany in winter. In a desert at 115 degrees, with a tactical vest strapped on, doing patrol work, it's a problem. Dogs don't sweat. They cool by panting and by losing heat through their feet, and that's basically it. Pile a heavy coat on top of a working tempo, on top of body armor, and the dog cooks. Handlers were watching their shepherds heat stress out before the mission was even halfway done. There's footage, veterinary write-ups. It became a known thing. The Mal? Short coat, single coat more or less. Built for a Belgian climate that, sure, isn't exactly the Sahara, but the breed just happens to handle heat better. Same body weight, thinner jacket. In a desert, that difference can be the gap between an asset and a casualty. There's a phrase that gets thrown around on the working dog forums. Maligator. Not affectionate, not really. More like a warning to the next person thinking about getting one as a pet. Because the Belgian Malinois does not have an off switch. There's no setting where the dog is just chilling on the couch watching you make dinner. There's engaged and there's asleep. Anything in between is the dog pacing the room looking for a job because the engaged setting got bored. For a family pet, this is a nightmare. The number of Mals that end up in rescue because somebody saw one in a movie and thought, I want that, is honestly kind of grim. For a military working dog program, it's the entire point. You want a dog whose nervous system runs at a higher RPM than the dog next to it. You want a dog that, when the helicopter door opens at 2 a.m, is already lit up and ready. The shepherd in working lines can absolutely have that intensity, but on average, Mals run hotter. They recover faster between bursts. They don't talk themselves out of the next rep. Whatever the equivalent of doubt is in a dog brain, most Mals just don't have a lot of it. £65. That's the number that keeps coming up when you listen to handlers and trainers talk about it. Not because a smaller dog is faster, well, partly that, but mostly because if the dog goes down or gets hit, or just blows out a paw 3 miles into the patrol, somebody's carrying it back. A guy already wearing 70 pounds of plates and water can manage another 65 on top of that. Maybe. 85? Forget it. 90, like a lot of the bigger American showline shepherds get? Now you're talking about 2 guys carrying it, or you're leaving the dog. Nobody wants either option. And that's just the carry math. Smaller dog means less to feed in the field, less heat trapped in the body, less stress on joints over a 10-year career, smaller silhouette in a doorway. There's a reason the working line mals the units actually buy tend to top out somewhere in the 60s. Not because it's a rule written down anywhere, because the dogs that survive the job tend to be that size. The ones that wash out for being too heavy or for blowing out their hips at year 3, they wash out early and the breeding selects against them, which is how you get a working dog that actually works. "120 in the shade and there isn't any shade. That's Iraq in July. That's southern Afghanistan from May through September. And that, more than anything else, is what broke the Shepherd as a modern deployment dog. The double coat that made them perfect for German winters and East German border work, that same coat is a furnace when you're working a compound for 6 hours in desert heat. The dog basically cooks from the inside out. You can pour water on them, you can shave the undercoat down, doesn't matter. They still go down faster than the lean, short-coated Mal panting next to them. Then add helicopters. A Black Hawk in summer, sitting on a tarmac, is its own little climate. Engine heat coming up through the floor, exhaust blowing back into the cabin on certain wind angles, and a dog crated next to a guy in full kit. The dog that handles that doesn't panic at the rotor wash, that doesn't overheat before you even reach the LZ, that's the dog you bring. A heavier, denser, hairier dog is fighting a losing battle before the mission even starts. Nobody's saying Mals are some magic breed. They're just shaped right for what the job actually turned into after 2003. Strap a 90-pound Shepherd to the front of a guy in full kit and try to push him out of a C-130 at 25,000 feet. The math doesn't work. The canopy isn't rated for that combined weight. The descent rate gets ugly. The landing is a knee surgery waiting to happen. So when somebody finally said, "We need a dog that goes where we go, including out the door of an aircraft," well, they basically had to size down. 65-pound Mal, oxygen mask wig to the dog's snout, harness clip to the jumper's chest, and now the math actually closes. This is where the switch stopped being a preference and started being a requirement. SOCOM wanted dogs in the stack from minute 1 of the operation, not waiting on the ground for somebody to bring them up later. That means the dog jumps when the team jumps, and jumps have a weight ceiling, period. Cairo, the dog from the Bin Laden raid? Mal. Almost every JSOC dog you see in the rare photos that make it out? Mal. And it isn't that anybody had a problem with Shepherds in principle. The dog just couldn't physically do the job anymore. The body had ruled itself out before the conversation even started. Cairo went into Abbottabad with SEAL Team 6 in May of 2011, Belgian Malinois, strapped into body armor, fitted with a camera, dropped from a Black Hawk into the most famous compound in modern military history. He was there to do 2 specific things: sniff out hidden rooms and chase anyone trying to bolt. That's the whole job. And the fact that the dog was a Mal and not a German Shepherd, look, that detail mattered. That was kind of the moment the public clocked the switch had already happened. Then, 8 years later, Conan, also a Mal, chased al-Baghdadi into a tunnel in Syria. Baghdadi blew himself up, Conan got hit by the blast, came back up the tunnel, and lived. They gave him a medal at the White House. Trump petted him on camera. Whole thing. You don't send a dog into a tunnel with a guy in a suicide vest unless you trust the dog completely. And by 2019, the trust had migrated, quietly. The Shepherd had been the face of the American war dog for 60 years, and now it was Mals doing the work that ends up in news cycles. Nobody made an announcement. The dogs just showed up different. A working Mal weighs maybe 60 pounds. A working line German Shepherd is, 80, 85? That weight difference matters more than people think. It's the difference between a dog that can fast rope out of a helicopter without blowing out a hip and a dog that can't, really. Not for long, not over a career. But the weight is honestly the boring half of it. The wild part is the drive. Mals are bred, and I mean bred, ruthlessly, by people who do not care about your feelings, for a prey drive that doesn't have an off switch. The breed has a nickname in working circles, Maligator, because they latch on and they don't let go. There's a reason rescues are full of them. Some guy sees a SEAL Team 6 dog on TV, decides he wants one, and 6 months later, the dog is climbing his fridge and biting the mailman's truck. That's not a training failure. That's the dog doing what it was bred to do, in the wrong house. The military didn't pick the Mal because Mals are sweet. They picked it because the drive is so high, it survives the kind of work that breaks normal dogs. None of this means the German Shepherd is done. Police forces still run them, all over the world. There are working lines, Czech, East German, the old DDR stuff, that are absolute units. Steady, smart, hard. The breed at its best is still one of the great dogs we have. And the temperament, the loyalty thing, the one-handler bond, a shepherd will die for its person in a way a Mal sort of won't. Mals work for whoever's holding the leash and the Kong. It's a different relationship. But here's what really gets me. The reason the shepherd lost ground in elite work isn't because the Malinois showed up and beat it in a fair fight. It's because show breeders spent 40 years ruining the dog. That sloped back, the angulated rear, the gait that looks dramatic in the ring and is biomechanically a disaster, they bred a working dog into a wobble. The military didn't abandon the shepherd. The American show ring did, and the working world had to look elsewhere. So when you see a shepherd now, a real one, not the limping cartoon they parade around Westminster, give it a second look. The breed still has it, just not where the cameras are.